Candice Carty-Williams, thank you for joining me today. I wanted to start with writing, just as a place for us to explore your work, the way you think about everything. And right now I'm in the process of writing myself, and I'm deep in the valley. So help me out of here. I know you've been here before.
Many times.
Just in finishing working on it, Queenie is working on it.
Mm-hmm.
How did you get there?
How did I get to finishing it? How did I get to starting? Two very different places.
Let's do starting.
Okay, let's do starting. So this novel was meant to be done about 5 years ago, but I was doing TV. And I wasn't meant to be doing TV, but when I was approached with this idea of doing a musical, who kind of says yes to everything that's exciting, said, yeah, of course, I'll just make it work. And then I started doing this TV show, and I said to my editor, I'm doing this TV show, I'm really sorry. And she said, okay, fine, we can wait a little bit. And then 5 years later, she said to me, if you don't do this, it's big trouble. It's curtains for you. So I said, all right, I will do it. That's fantastic. That's fine. That's fine. It's great. So I started trying to do it. But I think because I was so traumatized by TV writing, nothing was coming out. So I would sit and look at this blank Word document for hours, days, and then weeks. And I'm actually good at saying I can't do something. Like I have no problem with being like I'm struggling, but I think I wasn't connecting with the fact that I couldn't do it because it's so rare for me to not be able to do something that I want to do. And I knew I was excited to do it, and I knew that I could do it, so I couldn't quite process why I wasn't doing it, like why the words weren't coming out, because I was like, I know on a technical level I can write, I have that ability, and I have a plan, and I have the ideas. So why is it not on the page now? And I had to say to my editor, can I talk to you? Can I meet up with you and talk to you? And I said, it's not coming. I can't, it's not happening. And she said, you aren't well. You're not in a good place. So why don't you just take the summer off? And I think it's hard when you're self-employed to know like your limits and to know that you can and should take time off or not just be constantly going. So I did that, and I think I just had to rest. I think I had to like see my friends again, because when I was doing TV, I was in an edit suite or I was in my house writing for maybe 2-3 years.
Wow.
And I lost, I guess, not contact with people because I was still communicating with people, but even to like look at the messages, it was like a very different version of me. It was just me constantly like apologizing for not being at things or over explaining why I wasn't quite myself, or, you know, and then actually you kind of just stop wanting to do that. So you just stop contacting people. So I had to kind of reconnect with people and not like get their forgiveness, but I had to be like, I am still in here. And I guess I had to find that for myself too. And then after summer, I sat down to do it, and then it happened. And it started to work, and it started to actually appear on the page. And
when you're saying about appearing on the page, is the story already in your head and it's a case of like getting it on the page, or is the story developing as you're writing?
So I have a plan when I'm writing this. I've made like a grid, and I've got like in one column is like the chapter. It's like, okay, chapter 1, and then it's like, here are the key things that happen, and like here are the key characters that are in it. And then there's like a bit where I can be like, what are the notes? Like what we're moving around, what we're changing. So I was sticking to an actual plan, but I find that quite boring. So I would be like moving things around and I'd be going off piece. So I was kind of like keeping the general beats of what would happen, but I knew that I really wanted to, I guess like, for me, some of the best stuff happens when I'm not really thinking about it too much and I'm just feeling it and I'm letting the characters do what they need to do, you know? So yeah, I'm sticking to the plan, but I'm also like amending stuff. And I'm also like letting the characters kind of like go their own way. And I'm like shocking myself sometimes with what they do. But ultimately, I do start enjoying it. But then I hit this kind of roadblock, maybe 2/3 of the way in. And I was going to my office at the time, so my office is in Peckham. And I got in like a good routine of like getting up, getting the train, like being in the world, you know? And like walking through Peckham and just like waking up a lot. And then going there and sitting down and putting my music on. You know, you just like find your little routines. And one day I did it and I had that feeling again. And I was like, I can't, I've got a deadline. Like, I can't like not do this. But I didn't feel, it's weird. I think because I've done so much writing, I think sometimes my head now can get a bit like scrambled with it rather than me just being able to be like, all right, take a day or like take a couple of days. I think it's just like, there's like just an over processing that maybe happens. And I was just typing and I was just immediately, I would just lose it. And I was really panicked. I was really worried. And I ended up messaging DJ Martello, who lives down the road in New Cross. And I was like, I can't do this. And he was like, all right, just come to my house and we'll just like talk it out.
Is it the weight of what comes next, or like, is that what is weighing, like stopping you getting the thing done? Like,
I actually don't have an answer.
Okay.
And that's one of the difficult things. I can be sort of like, I can be type A, type B, type C, I can be all the types, but I'm very self-aware. And at the moments that I'm not self-aware is when I'm like, I start panicking because I'm like, I usually have an answer for everything. I can be like, okay, you're ill, or like you have PMT, or like you're stressed because of this thing. But when I don't have an answer for something is when I'm like, gotta give it up. I can't do this. This just isn't, I'm a phony, that this isn't my job. But I went to his house and I couldn't even figure out how to get there and it was down the road. I just was like, brain was like just like spinning, trying to figure out like how I would like pay my mortgage, you know? And then when I got there, we just went to the park and I just sat and stared at the sun in the cold for like 2 hours. And then I sort of like rebooted. And then he sent me back on a line bike with a scarf and gloves and was like, do your work. Yeah. And then I finished it. It was great.
So it was like a turn it off and turn it on. Like,
it was literally that.
And then I guess like getting out of that slump, like how, I guess, quick was the like finishing of that final third?
No, it was really quick. It was maybe like 2 weeks.
Wow.
Because then after that I was just like, okay, let's just like, we've had the bad thing has happened. Yeah. Let's not do that again. Let's just keep going, you know?
One of the things that I guess people don't speak about much publicly is like the editing process and like the role of the editor in your work. How early does that come in?
For me, not early enough. Mm-hmm. So I think after working in TV, I was like, look, whenever. Like, if you want to read like chapters and tell me like things that need changing, we could do that. But my editor was like, no, stop doing that. Stop sending me stuff. Like, stop sending me work to do. Like, just send me the novel. But I think TV is a really nice place to me because it means you get to like talk to loads of people. You get to like strength test ideas, spitball ideas, like put mad stuff out and then like see how it works. But with books, you just have to, you're just your own boss in a way that is kind of like confronting, but you're also in like free fall because you're just like, I could just write anything, you know? Obviously, you know, within like reason.
Because this is your first, like, I guess, project post-television.
Yeah.
So your television, you're working with, I don't know, hundreds of people maybe?
Yeah.
Like, and then this is back to being solo.
Yeah. And that was really weird because obviously like when you're a showrunner, you have maybe like, you are talking to maybe 100 people a day. Okay. And that is like people you were talking to them by email, you're talking to them on set and you are being like, this should go there. That cup of water needs to be over there actually. Can we move that book like 2 inches to the right? And then suddenly you're in a room and you're like, I have to construct somehow something like from nothing.
So does television influence this work in effect? Like, has the writing changed because of that? I think
so.
Yeah.
Well, I kind of know so. I think like, I guess with everything you do, you just get better, right? Hopefully, you get better.
Kind of confirm on my side.
Well, no, don't do that. But like, I think you do. So I think that you do, and I feel like TV writing is like boot camp because you might be doing the same scripts like 50 times, you know? And I remember the first Queenie script, I think I did maybe like 70 pilots.
Wow.
You know? So you can't do that and then be like not sharp.
Okay,
after.
70 pilots. So what if you're on pilot 29?
Yeah.
And then you go back in, what, like, can you name something that just maybe has changed or it's gone a different direction?
Yeah, so it's like, okay, actually, we like, for example, we really love the opening, but maybe we'd want to move it to the beginning of the second half. And maybe we'll start with something more like, I don't know, family oriented, you know, to like draw a different kind of audience in. So you would then try and like lift the whole of the top and then figure out where to put it in the middle. Wow. And then, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you were just constantly recreating like the same kind of, it's like having a plate of food and you're just constantly changing the like motion where everything is.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But not quite doing enough to like warrant all the work you're doing. You know?
And then bringing that back to writing solo, do you feel like those things, I guess, help you filter ideas down to like, okay, making, you know, every word count and every kind of scene kind of appear now? So you wouldn't have to do that again if you were doing television for this?
I feel like you just cut out all the filler because you just know what you want to say now, you know? And I feel like when I went into writing Queenie's working on it, I was like, here are the things I want to say, here are the beats I want to hit, and everything else, it can just go. And I think you get really good at killing your darlings after you've worked in TV. Do you know what I mean?
Explain killing your darlings.
Say I have written a chapter that I love, and then the editor says it's not working, you just have to be like, it's gotta go. And killing your darlings is like you're killing something that you love and adore and you feel really works, but it has to hit the road.
Have any former darlings come back from the dead and appeared in this book from before? Like you've written a lot. You've written for television. You've written no. So once it's dead, it just.
But I'm quite good at that. I'm quite good at it with all things. I'm just like, when it's in the past, it's in the past. Let's go. Let's move forward.
Okay, that's pretty clever. Does this kind of character work and like the way you think about constructing characters all appear on the page now? Like, or is it some of it's still kind of in your head? You want the reader to imagine it. Like, what's the kind of balance between those two things?
I'm quite star signs are my thing. Okay. So I really love star signs. I'm very led by star signs. So I will know a character's, I'll know the star sign, know their birthday, and I will know what their traits are. So I don't need to put that on the page to know like how they will operate, because I'm like, I know someone who's a bit like that, or I know like what the traits of like an Aries are. So that person is going to be very commanding. That person is going to be very, let's say, exacting. They're going to want everything to be as it is. And they're also going to be, you know, potentially quite fiery and maybe quite confrontational, perhaps. So I know that is that person. I know how they're going to work with another person who is maybe an opposing star sign, and that's going to be conflicting. That's going to be like a very difficult relationship. So I think that's the stuff that I've got in my head. And I think also like where they live. So if you came to my office, you would see loads of Post-its, and every single Post-it is a character name, and it's all color-coded. So like for Queenie's working on it, pink was like Queenie and the people in her life, and then blue was all of her family members, and green was all of her work people, and orange was all of her best friends. And all of those people had their name, their star sign, where they lived, and their likes and dislikes, just so I knew who they were. Yeah. That was really important to me.
And I guess how does that kind of filter like what lands on the page? If you say, right, this Aries, a character that's an Aries, my character that's a Cancer.
Like you and I.
Is that what it is?
We're Cancers.
We're Cancers, yeah. All right, yeah.
Yeah.
How do you think, okay, well, in this maybe like confrontation or a bit of difficulty,
yeah,
this is something I've recognized before in relationships. Do you know what I mean? Like, how do you kind of, bring that off the page?
I just make sure that each person is their own person, and I would let them have that argument or let them have that tension in my head, and then I would work out the best way to get that on the page. So like, if there is an argument between two characters, I'm not going to do an entire back and forth because one person is this person, one person is that person, but I will know what their core values are and what's going to go on the page from like what they believe and who they are, if that makes sense.
And how much of like does your like day-to-day swerve like what's happening on the page too? So you're writing every day, going to your office in Peckham. Does that kind of influence the stories that you're telling, like just bit by bit, or do you try and like really stick to the chapters and where you're going? Every day is a stretch.
Every day is a stretch. That's not my writing routine at all, I'm afraid. I would probably do, I write in a way that is probably, it's unique to me. I might do 2 days a week, but I would probably do like 10,000 words a day. So I would just lock in for like 10 hours and not emerge and not move. So actually, I think in that concentrated way of working, for me, it feels like it's more like of the good stuff.
Okay.
Rather than, like, for me personally, going in every day and being like, okay, cool, we're going to write 2,000 words a day. I don't think much of that would be good, because I think that my brain is moving around so much that, like, some days I'm just like, there's no space for writing here. Like, you know, some days I feel like I'm on input and some days I'm on output. And I think a lot of the days that I guess, like, there's something going on, or like Nan's like stressed about something, and then like my niece is like, I've got to take her to like gymnastics. It's like, those are the days that I'm like, I'm not good at balancing those things.
Okay.
So it actually suits me to be like, okay, this day I'm gone, no one can contact me, do not disturb is on.
Okay.
So
and then it makes sure that your things are not bleeding onto the page, right? So if something else is happening in your life and it's not like pertinent to the stories that happen here, because there's nothing to do with you, this is another world.
No, I'm really good at like demarcation of like life and work.
Okay, good.
I'm very boundaried when it comes to things like that. And also, like, when it comes to people who are like, oh, I can see myself in that character, I'm like, no, you can't, because I wouldn't. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm very strict about that. And I remember, like, even in like dating, when people have been like, oh, you're gonna put me in your novel, I'm like, I would never do that. Like, it doesn't matter if you did like the worst thing in the world to me, I would never, ever, ever do that. But also, like, I would never immortalize you like that.
Oh, so is that the reason? Or is it because you don't want, again, you don't want
I think it's also
carry
like,
these stories from life into...
But also, I think, like, when Queenie first came out, everyone basically thought it was like my autobiography. And I remember thinking, like, why would I do that? Why would I do that? It's such an exposing work. Like, that seems crazy. Like, I can't imagine what the benefit would be of me being like, here's my life story, everyone, like, have at it. So I think because of that, I'm also like, yeah, we're not gonna... When we did the adaptation, I had to talk to the compliance team for the network, and I had to go through my entire dating history to make sure that there was no character who was like any of the characters in. And I was like, I did not ever want to do that again.
They don't want anyone that could be mistaken like living or dead. Like that disclaimer, right?
So yeah, we can't sue the network, basically.
Yeah. Because these works have taken quite a long time to emerge. Does that like give them higher pressure because you know that these ideas are going to be sitting in the world for years? Do you know what I mean? So like if you're writing a story, you're like, okay, well, I'm going to have to talk about this for a decade now. Does that change the way you think about writing?
Oh, you know what, actually? I would say I do each project for about 2.5 years maximum. And that is like, Queenie is the only exception. Queenie TV, that was in development for 8 years. And that was just... That's, you know, TV can sometimes take that long. But with books, I feel like once I've started writing it, when it comes out, that's going to be less than 3 years. And actually, just in terms of pressure, I don't know why. I've just never really felt pressure in that way. I don't know. I just think I'm one person contributing one story. And now it's been like obviously a few more. But I just think there are so many of us who are doing so many amazing things. So like, there are so many things for you all to choose from. So, I don't know. I just don't feel like I'm carrying like the weight of like a culture or like a womanhood or like a Black womanhood or like a storyhood. I'm just like, I'm just doing something.
Okay, so people probably process it differently on their side because they say, okay, like your book's done well. So they think, oh, that's going to have a weighting on you or change you in some meaningful way. For this work, did you let, I guess, feedback or like things that people like influence the writing in this? Like how much was like an audience conversation important to you?
I don't feel like I feel like maybe I see some things, but I don't see all things.
But I mean, you're outside, like as in like people...
Oh yeah, I'm in the world.
Like talk to you.
Yeah.
You've done like launches. You've been a kind of visible person. So has there been things that people have said to you directly that may have like swerved your writing or like influenced your writing in some way?
No.
That is so strong.
But
that's good. That's powerful.
But I feel like I know that like there is this idea that like Queenie is like messy, right?
Okay.
And it's like, our problematic fave. And I find that quite funny because I'm like, yeah, sure. Like, yeah, she is. And I remember when I was writing this one, she's not like got her shit together as much as you might think she should have. And I remember thinking, oh, people will probably say the same thing. And I was like, yeah, they probably will. And then I just carried on.
Perfect. So it's not like, I guess like when people are moralizing characters, they're thinking, oh, like they've got to be a good person for it to be a good book kind of thing. Or like they've got to be some sort of hero or heroine or whatever it's going to be.
I would find that so boring to write.
Yeah, it would be more boring to read.
Exactly. And I just think like one of the, like the idea of anyone saying like her work is boring, that is the thing that would like keep me up at night, you know? Like, but someone being like, I love that people talk about Queenie like she's a real person.
Yeah.
That's an amazing thing. Like, it's such an honor for people to be like, you know, it's like the Carrie Bradshaws and like the Bridget Joneses and like the, you know what I mean? It's like those are the characters that people talk about. And it's like, yeah, they're not real, but they become part of the discourse and part of the conversation.
Yeah.
So yeah, if people are saying like, oh yeah, Queenie did this and it's really frustrating, I'm like, yeah, tell me about it.
You thought about this before though, like the Bridget Jones hook, right? Like, I'm going to be the Black Bridget Jones for Queenie. Is it still kind of on that track, or have you found other like characters in pop culture that you're like, okay, this is maybe like an influence for Queenie that I didn't consider writing the first one 10 years ago?
I mean, Issa Rae.
Yeah.
Because like when I remember Awkward Black Girl was a thing when I was in my early 20s, maybe my late teens, early 20s. And then obviously Insecure happened when I was in my 20s, and I was like, this is amazing. And one of my favourite quotes that Issa Rae said in real life and not Issa D, the character, she said that she wanted to write a character that was out on a Friday because she was in on a Friday. And I was like, yeah, it's really like so much of like the stuff that characters do is the stuff that you are like, you wish you could do or you could say or you could experience, but you're like, oh, I'll do it through a character because like, I can't do those things, you know? And so I would say Insecure is one of those big things, and also Fleabag, you know? I think I really relate to those characters that do not have everything together because I think it's realistic and I think it's true. And I think these are compelling characters, you know, and they're the ones that I remember.
Did the way kind of British television think about putting Black women on screen change once Queenie came out?
I mean, not enough, you know?
What would you like to see move it forward?
I would like to see more Black women characters on screen, for sure. And when I say characters, I mean very specifically characters. I don't just mean actors playing characters that exist.
Yes.
So one thing I find quite difficult when I watch things is you might have, and I'm going to make this up entirely, but you might have a character who is called Sally who lives in a very specific kind of flat and has a very specific kind of job that would usually... The job would be occupied by someone who maybe is walked into that job because they're of a higher class or, you know, similar. And she might play hockey, you know. She might have a dog called Rex, and they will just cast a Black woman in that and then call it a day.
Okay.
And I find that it's quite bizarre because it's even like, and you don't have to call her, you know, like Effia, but you could just tailor the life to the actor slightly, you know? And they do it they do it to everyone. Everyone gets it. They're just like, yeah, you've read for it and you're really great. And that's really great. But also they're just like, yeah, just do the job. And I just think we can cater things to people and we can make things accessible to everyone who is watching and make them feel like, oh, okay, cool. I don't have to be the central character. I can just exist in this world.
Yes.
And exist in a way that I feel like I can see myself. You know? So I would like to see more of that. I would like to see more. It's just tweaking. That's it.
And it's not making it like a Black thing either, right? It's like you're telling a Black story, but it's for everyone.
Yeah.
And that's why like this thing worked.
And that's why it's important. I think I try to, when I write, I try to make sure that every single person feels well-rounded. And I know that even when you have actors come in, I guess like you've usually written like the first bit of like the first half of the series, and then you get to observe then when you're writing the second half, the actors in situ. And I like to write like some of them maybe they've got like vocal tics, or maybe if they breathe in certain places or they pause in certain ways, I'll put that in and I'll make that part of their character because I'm like, we're working together, you know? So the idea of just chucking someone a script and being like, that's your character, go, it doesn't really make sense to me.
And how was that kind of response from the actors? Like, what does that dynamic look like?
It's nice. Yeah. It feels really, really nice. And I feel like on both Champion and Queenie, that's why I think so many of the relationships that I had and still have from those shows are still really beautiful and they're a really big part of my life because it's the trust between both of you. And I feel like I'm not someone who's hierarchical on set. So when we're there, we're all there and everyone should feel responsible for doing a good job and everyone should feel empowered. And that we're all on set to make something really good that we can all be really proud of, you know?
Did you become like non-hierarchical for a particular reason, or was that just your default settings? Like, was there like a situation that made you think, okay, like this seems like the right way to manage this scenario, even though it's like your work?
No, I just think that I'm like that. Sorry, I feel like I've got so many answers where I'm just like, that's just me. But I just feel like even when it comes to group projects and when it comes, like we all have something that we're bringing. Mm-hmm. Do you know what I mean? I don't think I'm the boss because like I've written the book, because there is someone who does set design who is probably like 50 times more talented than I am. They're just doing a different job, you know? Like they just don't have their name like on the text, yes. You know? Because I've worked with some incredible people and I've just been wowed by some of the most amazing people who do the most technical things. And I'm like, I couldn't do your job and you could probably do mine, you know?
I don't think so.
I believe they could try. I believe so.
No.
You don't think so?
No.
All right.
Give yourself some credit.
All right.
And that's why you do that, and that's why they do that.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, 100%. Like,
okay.
I think a lot of people have the ambition to like write books and actually getting it done and finished multiple times, regardless of whether someone buys it or anything, it's still like a 1% task, right?
But I do think I know that there are so many barriers to doing that though. Mm-hmm. And I think that because I worked in the publishing industry, I was able to see exactly how it worked. And like I said, I like to know where I am and know what I'm doing. And I think because I knew the process, I was like, this is how long it could take to be published. This is who you would need to talk to. And like, don't get me wrong, I submitted my book to an agent. I wasn't just like, hey, agent that I know, can you get me some money for a book? Like I had to do it the proper way.
Okay, let's talk about that. Let's talk about the process because it's something that people are curious about.
Of course.
Talk me through, you worked in publishing before. Mm-hmm. What insight did that give you, even in terms of like how you approached your first works?
So it was important to know what the market was looking like. And I remember wanting a book like Queenie. I wanted to read one like that. And I had made friends with people who worked in marketing, publicity, editorial across other publishing houses because there was like a Black and Asian and underrepresented network that we're all part of. Okay. And I would always be like, guys, what's coming out? Like, what is anything for me? Anything? And they were like, no, there's literally nothing coming out anywhere.
So what year is this?
13 years ago.
You're in publishing 2013, 2014.
Yeah.
You kind of see a opportunity, kind of gap in the market.
Yes.
Not been met.
Yes.
But what is actually in the market? What is there?
Chimamanda.
Okay.
She was there.
Yeah.
And I worked on Americana and I was like, that felt great, but what's next?
Yeah.
And I remember being like, there's nothing coming.
Okay.
And at that time, I was obviously like very wide-eyed, very voracious, like had loads of energy. And I was like, I'm going to change things. And I was quite deluded. I was I was very meritocratic. I was like, good work will be rewarded. Like good books will be published from anyone. And then I realized like that's just not the case because also, and crucially, most writers don't even know how to get their books to a publishing house. And a lot of that is via an agent, but they don't know where to find an agent. You know, there's this like big writers and artists handbook, which is just a massive like yellow pages kind of book of agents. And you're just meant to go through it and be like, okay, that person, okay, let me email them. Okay, that person, I can call them. But that's just like a big compendium of names. Like it's not telling you anything.
Yeah.
And I just obviously started a short story prize because I was like, let's try and get people to bypass the agent system by getting some like short stories in, and I can actually, selfishly, I can just read those myself. That would be exciting. And the prize was a great thing, and loads of writers did come from that, but that obviously takes time, and I could see how much time it was taking. So I was like, maybe you should write a book. But I recognised and understood what the process of writing a novel is and getting it edited and marketing publicity. So like all the crucial points of it, and just like how long the process could be, how long the road could be. But because I knew what to expect, I felt okay with that when it was my turn.
Yeah. And let's maybe talk about marketing, because I think there was an article a few weeks ago now that I think it was like a tiny percentage of Black writers had sold, above like 1,000 copies or something. Really, it's like a very small portion.
Yeah.
And I saw like a thread about people complaining about marketing and not having access to certain things.
Yeah.
I think, that can't be just like a marketing issue solely. Like it's like clearly like distribution, information asymmetry, like all these other things happening. But if we start with like marketing as a challenge, what are the things that you think you hit well on with Queenie originally?
I remember saying I wanted this to be the Black version of Bridget Jones. I want it to be in most households. That was really important to me. And I was like, we have to be able to reach those people. The issue is getting to the people, right? Because I think that you don't know a book is there until it's given, until it's shown to you. Because, there are so many books that come, people are like, oh, have you seen that? And I've been like, well, I want to read about this amazing thing. I don't want to just you've got it on your shelf, but I didn't know that book was out yet, And I feel like that's obviously on the publishers to get it to us, let's say. But if they don't know how to get it to us, then they're just not going to. They're just going to do the traditional routes to getting it to us. And that might be online ads, or if there's the budget for it, tube advertising. Do you know what I mean?
Okay, so it's really that old school in terms of
just
blasting kind of ads in that way.
Yeah. I mean, you can be more targeted now, and obviously there is scope for more getting more analytical data. But before, when it was 2019, when Queenie came out, it was just how do we get to those readers? And obviously I was okay, well, there is Black Ballad, and there is there are all these places that do not exist anymore, and there's Galdem. There were all these places that I was let's talk to them, and let's figure out how to. And I was obviously very big part of the marketing of my own book, because I was I know who we should talk to, and know who we can talk to and why. So yeah, I felt I was very integral to that process, but also I think at some points it felt a bit difficult, because obviously you're I would like some steer because I'm the author,
yes.
But I also think everyone was learning for the first time how to market this book about a Black woman that was going to be commercial fiction and wasn't sequestered away as a small literary offering,
Yeah, I think a lot of British people in general have a problem with shooting for the moon with things or just admitting their commercial intent for something and wanting something to be big, and actually starting there, it actually kind of makes it easier for it to hit more people, right? And being honest about that.
Yeah.
And does it help with other people believing in the project too, that you have the kind of, you're oh, I want to try and sell this book, and that being the driving force behind everyone else being motivated?
I think everyone wants every book to work, I guess. And I think that everyone has to look at the commercial viability of something. And I think that when Queenie came out, it was one of those very specific things where people were actually just really sort of wow, it's a young Black writer who's written this thing, rather than, do you know what I mean? So it felt it was novelty at the time.
Yeah.
And I was doing all my press stuff with the head of PR, she's called Maura. And after doing stuff with her for maybe a month, she was none of my other authors get asked the questions that you get asked, because all of the questions that I was getting asked were about race in publishing.
Right.
And it was people were not asking me enough about the work. They were not asking me a lot about the book. They were just so racism in publishing, how is that? How does that work? How does that get solved? And I'd be I don't know, but do you want to talk about this book that I've written, that I've spent months writing, So I feel that was one of the big draws. It was on the one hand, it was yeah, I'm getting booked for all of these amazing things. But on the other hand, it's I'm having to answer for the
industry,
diversity,
spokesperson.
And so that was that. Okay. So that was, and it was like a double whammy because I worked in publishing. So it was like, oh, she must have the answers, and it was like, I'm 29, so I don't really have like every answer for everything. Go and ask the CEOs, you know?
Yeah. And did you ever have dynamics where the CEO would even speak up about those kind of situations, or was it usually just, I guess, it's usually put on us for some reason? But were there situations where I guess you felt like they did a good job of it, kind of explaining, even just to you, like how we can make it better?
No.
Oh.
No, never, and I don't think that will ever happen.
Okay.
Across any industry. Have you seen it happen?
I think there was like a moment in, I guess, like mid 2020 when
it's always going to be 2020
when people tried something,
and
then I guess they weren't really sure what to do next. It was like this kind of explosion of opportunity, ideas, moments to give people chances in some other worlds, and then I guess people weren't sure what to do with it once it was out there. And then now, I guess we're 6 years removed from that.
Yeah.
I feel like we, the collective of all of these things, should be like further along. But then
all of the schemes have been chopped.
Yeah.
Gone. Yeah.
And I think I asked everyone a different version of that kind of question, like how they feel like, I guess, post 2020 and 2021, like after, like, did you feel excited, or were you kind of skeptical?
When the book came out?
No, just like with the surge of investment in, I guess, Black artists' work, music, publishing, or like, what was your kind of feeling at the time? Do you remember?
My answer, I remember when I was ever asked about this back then, my answer was always a very stock answer, and I would always say, I just really hope it gets sustained. I just really hope this carries on. And so when it didn't, I was like, well, that was my dream. But I didn't feel positive about the sustainability of it. And I think that, Black Square Summer kind of showed us everything that we thought was going to come. I was surprised when the schemes fell away. And I was surprised that, I guess it felt quite barefaced to be like, yeah, it's just gone now. But I also wasn't surprised because I was like, you don't really have to answer to anything. Yeah, we can be annoyed online, but that doesn't really do anything, does it? Doesn't affect your bottom line. So you don't care, And it's very difficult. But I think, as we know, the thing that kind of has buoyed me and us is that people have been like, I'll do my own thing then.
Yes.
And I'll find my own ways to do it and find my own ways to connect with people, and that has sustained itself, and that cannot be put out, and I think that will sustain itself. So when anyone ever asks me like how I feel now, I feel good. I feel like I'd like more money to be put into these things.
Yes.
But I still feel like people are doing it anyway. Mm-hmm. And that's nice to see.
We'll find a way.
Yes.
Let's talk about music.
Because
obviously that's a through line in all your work.
Yeah.
But maybe we should start music and Champion, because I feel like that's
at
least to me, your musical home for some reason.
Okay.
How did you write with music kind of framing every single part of this? Because Champion's not a book as well. No. That's just a television story with music. It's like, anyone that hasn't watched it it's still on iPlayer, it's on Netflix. Watch it. Because it is like if you like grime, if you like Black British music, if you like Jamaican music, if you like London, Birmingham.
If you like London.
Like, just, all of the things that, how did you piece all these things together?
So I was approached in, I think, 2018 by the late, great Danielle Scott Horton, who worked for Balloon, and they had made Skins amongst other shows, but Skins was like the big one. And I was like, oh, that's all right. I know Skins. Let's talk. And they wanted to develop a Black British musical, and like I said, I was just like, yeah, all right. Because if I feel like I can do something or I like something, I'll give it a go, you know? And there was a script initially that was written by the head of the company. But he felt like he wasn't the person who was best placed to write it. He was like a Scottish man in his 60s, and he felt like maybe someone would do a better job than him, you know? And when I read the script, I understood like what he was trying to say, but I felt like I wanted to take it in a different direction, because while I love, like the sort of nucleus of that show would have been, I guess, like R&B, and he'd written the script like 10 years before.
Okay.
And I felt like, I mean, I knew it was, you know what I mean? Like I knew how music had changed and moved since then. I knew what I liked to listen to. I mean, don't get me wrong, I still like 90s R&B is like, this is, you know, my life source, you know? But I was like, I really like, you know, like, I like grime and I like red rap. So I was like, we can have female central character, and I'd like her to do sort of like UK neo soul, because I'm such a fan of UK neo soul and R&B, of course. But I was like, why don't we also have her brother who can do all the things that I also want to work on, you know? And they were like, yeah, sure, go for it. And I was like, they can be rivals, I guess. And then we basically like started building out like who they were. So Bosco and Vito were born. And I was like, but they have to come from somewhere, obviously. And I was like, it would make sense that their mum was someone who obviously came from this and was amazing at it, but, you know, had not been able to do what she needed to do. And that their dad was someone who came from it where he didn't have the talent, he just had the bravado and was still trying to ride off it. So that's how their parents were born. And it felt like a very easy family to kind of construct. And then through that, I was like, right, let's make an album and let's make a whole show that, like, I guess, envelops all of these things that I want to say musically. And we started out with like a music supervisor, and he was like a cool guy. He was like, yeah, basically we'll kind of like sync some stuff. And then he got a job at Netflix. So he was like, I'm going to go. Like quite soon into the process. But he was like, I worked with a really great music supervisor, another job. She's called Kat. She's really cool. I'll put you in touch. And Kat and I had to basically together make an entire album. She'd never done it before. I'd never done it before. But Kat would be like on the phone to like Millions' manager at like 5 a.m, like, please, like we need the tracks. Like we just had to do like everything. We were doing absolutely mad things and like talking to people at absolutely mad times and going to studios at like mad times and in mad places. Like I remember spending like 4 days in like a hidden studio in Birmingham. Like that is just like the things I had to do to get the music. And like, not in that way, my God, but like the things I had to like ask for, and like the ways that you would just have to like, I guess like go and support and like get stuck in and be kind. But like I loved it because I was like, I can't make music, so this is the closest I'm going to get to like actually being part of this process. And it was probably like it's definitely the best thing I've done, like work-wise. Like it was the most rewarding, because then you look back and you're like, we've made a TV show, but we've also made an album that's been distributed by 027, Def Jam, and there are some amazing producers on there and some incredible writing talent. And it's like, when else would you ever get to do that, you know? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. I wrote this thread in 2021 on Twitter saying that some of the best music will come from soundtracks.
Yes.
And some intergenerational works. I didn't know what it was going to be. Someone would do it. And I was like, then when it came, I was like, oh, it's you. Yeah. You are the person. And then the same with the Queenie soundtrack.
Yes.
That Swindle worked on. Our good friend that sits right in between us.
Of course.
You get half of him and I get half.
Yes. But Swindle also worked on the Champion soundtrack, obviously. Mm-hmm. So Kat, who, like, honestly, I can't explain enough. Like, me and Kat went through the fire, right? But Kat was like, right, okay, so now we need to actually do like we need to do the score for all of this. And I was like, oh God, okay. Because also we've done an album, and then we were like, okay, we also have to put like music like on the bloody show as well.
Yeah, true.
So she said there's a really good like pair that we could work with. There's a like classical composer who does TV called Paul Saunderson. He's amazing. And then I'd want to pair him with someone who actually like knows the music that the show is about, and said, Swindle. I was like, I'm a big fan of Swindle. Never met him, but like I know his work. I love his work. And she put us in touch, and he happened to be in LA the same time that I was there. And we figured out a way of meeting up. And actually now I know him. I know how impossible that would have been for him to do, because to try and catch that man is very difficult. And we spoke on the roadside, and actually what we just had in common was like a love and an obsession for music in a way that was actually like cellular. And it wasn't just like, oh, I like this album and I love that album. Like it was like the ways that we would feel when we spoke about music, you could tell that we were both like, you know what I mean? Like so connected to like the feeling of it. And he said he would do it. And every single thing that him and Paul did was kind of amazing, and it was really helpful to have two people who knew music so inside out do the stuff that actually we couldn't do. And it was nice actually, as someone who, I guess I can be quite controlling in that way, give that to someone else, and be like, actually, I can just focus on this stuff. I know that these people have got this.
Yeah, like a trust. Yeah.
Massive trust. And then when it came to Queenie, we initially had another composer, but it didn't work out. And Swindle was like, I'm here. You know that I'm ready. And I was like, I know. But like, we're going to, it's good to like branch out a little bit. It's good to like do a few people. And as soon as it was time to bring him in, he had to create music for episodes 1 to 3 in about a week. And he just did it. And he just didn't sleep. And I was like, that's love. Do you know what I mean? I was like, no one else is doing what he does. And not just musically, but also just for the love of the game.
Yeah.
He will always be someone, because of that, I call up for anything in that way. Do you know what I mean? Because that trust there is it's unbreakable.
Yeah. He worked with a friend and he over-delivered.
Yeah.
That's a common theme with him. Just staying on music and I guess champion Queenie, bouncing between the two things. You also have this layer of Jamaica as well.
Yeah.
And any chance I get now, I'm like just trying to, I guess, big up Jamaica in some way, because it's like one of these kind of core bits of being Black British.
Yeah.
And we're kind of still like flying the flag.
Yeah.
Can you like maybe explain how you wove it into the story and the storytelling of Champion, why it's important, and then maybe like how it influences your creative process?
Of course. So you probably realise now you have to be quite deluded, and you have to be very confident to go into these things. You have to be like confident, like you have to be overconfident, because you have to be like, you have to convince everyone. You know what I mean? You have to fake it till you make it. So I remember saying, I think we should go to Jamaica, like in one of the first meetings, and everyone laughed it off. And I was like, no, I'm not joking. Like, I think it's really important, if we're going to have a story of a family that hails from Jamaica, that we go there. And then I got into this whole spiel about how like the industry, like we needed to like feed into the industry there. Like they have an amazing team that work there. Like I know this I was lying. I was just saying whatever I thought they needed to hear. And then somehow they were like, all right. And I was like, I'm glad you're on board. Because again, you just have to like stick with it. And so we made episode 6 a Jamaica episode. And actually in Queenie, we made episode 6 a flashback episode. And I think probably in all the things I do, I think if I do an 8 episode thing, episode 6, I always like to go a little bit outside, I think that's like, you've built viewers trust enough that if you take them somewhere else, they're okay, because they know who they are with, and they know they're going to go back by the end of the series. So Jamaica, I mean, it's home to me. I mean, it's one of those things where obviously when I go there, they know that I'm British, but also I probably feel more at home there in some ways than I do here, And I will always love Jamaica for that, because I think feeling at home here is getting like increasingly difficult, I would say, for me anyway. And I wanted to give the love that I get from it back to it. And I wanted to put it on the screen. I wanted to put it on the screen really beautifully. 2 of my favourite films, One is Dancehall Queen. That is obviously set in Jamaica.
Yeah.
Another is Baby Mother. That is heavily influenced by Jamaican culture. And I remember thinking those two films make Jamaica feel amazing to me. So I'm like, how can I do something that honours those two films? So obviously music, Baby Mother is like the first Black British musical. So I wanted to do that. And I wanted to just kind of like capsule it and have an episode in Jamaica that felt like it honoured that. And honestly, I don't know how to, I want to find challenges for you, but it was the easiest thing.
Wow.
It was the easiest thing. We filmed it at the end. Caleb Femi came in to direct. So he went out a bit before us to recce to find great locations. And then he and I sat together when I got there and we went through the script line by line just to make sure that we were both very aligned on what we were saying and that we were making sure that Jamaica was portrayed in the most beautiful way, that he was getting all the bits of the culture that he was very interested in, that he very much loved. He's a Nigerian director and writer and poet. And there was something about that collaboration that also, I think, strengthened the episode because it was someone who was coming to Jamaica as a lover of it, who didn't just kind of take it for granted because he knew it or because he'd been there like every single year. I go there every year.
Yeah.
So like there's bits of it that I kind of just like...
You take as normal. Like
you take as normal. Yeah. But I think like, you know, like you see like motorcyclists and they're like doing their rotations and you're just like, okay, shush. Yeah. But like he made sure he got those in because he was like, these guys are sick. Like you're walking past them. And I was like, oh yeah, you know. And actually... we recorded at Big Yard Studios. That was like a 3 a.m, like we are to the wire, like one of those. And that was one of those things where you're just like, you don't just get to like just do this stuff every day. So I didn't take any of it for granted. But working with the most incredible crew, like of people who were just like, we are so proud to be doing this one episode of something that makes our culture look so beautiful.
And it's a rare thing where they actually got to see it too, right? And like, because it's available worldwide. So like Jamaicans have received it. And then I guess because they knew it was going to be shot there. Yeah. I don't know, is that how it worked? Like people knew an episode was going to be there. So maybe they were curious about the whole thing in general. Like, or started it and then realised, oh, like
no, they knew. I mean, like obviously, like Jamaica is small, isn't it? Yeah, it's a tiny island, so obviously, like word gets around, and some people that were working on it were also in it.
Yes.
So Natalie, who plays one of the aunties, she was like head of production for the whole of like the company that does everything, and our locations manager was also one of the family members. Like we were just like, yeah, if you wanna audition, let's see if it works. But no, word gets around, and also we had so many essays, like supporting artists, and they would come in and they would go off and be like, I was in this film, like it's called Champion, and go and, you know, everything is a film if it's Jamaica. So they were like, yeah, we're in this film. So by the time it was out, everyone was poised and ready. And they did a screening, possibly illegally, which is good for them. I'm happy for them. But when it came out on Netflix, because it came out on BBC One first, the only thing I cared about, like for the whole cycle of it, was it going to number one on Netflix in Jamaica. And when it happened, I remember taking a screenshot because someone sent it to me, and I sent it to my mum and I sent it to my very Jamaican dad. And that was me being like, I've completed my career. That's it. Done.
Like a statistic that wouldn't even existed like 10 years ago.
Yeah.
It's like,
what a metric.
Right, this is like the one.
That's honestly the only metric I've ever cared about, like in my whole working career.
Yeah, it's a rare thing to even, I guess, to have the dialogue in such a strong way, to have a piece of work that is in your home, that bangs. And then on both sides, in the UK and in Jamaica. It's perfect. Yeah. What's your relationship like with America?
In what way?
It's like how I guess your work is connected over years. Like,
it comes out there.
Okay.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it comes out there, and like I don't know. That's it.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Have you been and gone and like?
I've been. When I was saying to someone earlier, when Queenie first came out, they sent me to Albuquerque to this like huge bookseller conference. You've been to Albuquerque?
Yeah.
It's crazy. Yeah. It's the most beautiful place I've ever been to. It's so like flat and peaceful, and like the skies are like never ending. And also Breaking Bad was filmed there.
Okay.
Did you get nosebleeds? Because obviously the altitude is crazy.
No, it's Denver. There's another place that you get the altitude.
Yeah, I was getting nosebleeds. It was worth it. But I was doing all of these like amazing things in America. And actually, when I went to Albuquerque and I was on this tiny little plane, is when I was like, this is, I think, probably the furthest anyone in my family line has ever come. And that was a really amazing moment for me, you know? But beyond that, yeah, my book comes out there. And I think I have really fun American readers who like really love Queenie and like love her mess and are just like, yeah.
And you're the gateway for them for like South London. Right?
Yeah.
That must be
British experience.
Yeah, it must be kind of trippy. As I've been meeting people, I guess like around the world over the last like 10 years, there are like works or things that people reference that from like British things. And it's been like Skepta. Top Boy.
Yeah.
Queenie is in that section of things that people have, like, you know what I mean? That they've just mentioned that pops up. I'm like, oh, that is nice. It's like a special.
You should tell me that. You should text me.
Oh, like, oh, it's a random.
It's exciting.
Because basically now I say I'm from London.
Yeah.
And they say, oh, from South London. I'm like, no, sorry. No. And they're like, oh. You get a kind of like a pity look. Like, there's another part of London? Like, why would you not be from
South London though? Because I guess Top Boy's like, when I remember going to, when I travel, my weird thing is going to laundromats to like do my washing and like centre myself. And I remember going to somewhere, went to a laundromat, it was very, I shouldn't have done it. It was like 2 a.m, it was 24-hour laundromat. And it was the middle of like Oakland. And like someone came in with a gun, like it was a lot. And like they were chasing someone who hid in a dryer. It was a lot. Okay. And when the cab driver was driving me there, she heard my accent and she was like, were you in Top Boy? And I was like, I wasn't, no, but I have seen it. I'm a fan. So yeah, that's like, Top Boy was always the measure when I was in America. Okay. That was the thing they cared about.
Yeah, I think that for now, that's probably the most watched like British thing, probably.
Probably.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Going back to the word today, working on it. I keep on calling it working on it. Is working on it.
That's all right. Queenie is working on it, but Queenie is working on it. I know what you're talking about.
Do you have a kind of ambition to make more people read with it? Like, is the book for? Do you kind of think of your work as that kind of device where like someone might only read like two or three books a year, and this be one of them?
Great question. My favourite compliment, probably, about my work, is this is the book that got me into reading.
Whoa. Okay.
So I have had hundreds, if not probably maybe like over 1,000 messages from people who were like, I hadn't read, it wasn't interesting to me, and then someone gave me a book and that was the first book I read.
Wow.
Or someone who was like, I hadn't read for like 10 years and then yours was the first book I read in 10 years and it got back into reading. That's my favourite thing ever. So I hope that I can do this again with this one. Hope no one's read any books but mine in the last. But no, I think it's important. But also, I feel like Queenie was like less of a polemic, I guess, you know, in the way of that was a year in the life of someone who was 25. Mm-hmm. And it was like coming of age and like coming of self and, you know, struggling in this world, like straddling two cultures. And there wasn't really a message that I was trying to give. And I think the message was always sort of broadly like, you know, you are enough. Like, you don't need to conform or contort yourself. And, you know, like this country will make you feel like that, but you don't have to. But in this one, this is about someone who is in her 30s and society is pressing on her a lot more than her family are in the way of having children, like being a normal person who just has kids. And it's about someone who actually is questioning that quite a lot. And when I did all my research for it, there were loads of things I found out about Black women's fertility and fertility health that I didn't know, that I think that we need to know. So I would say, like, I hope that people read it just to learn about their bodies, stuff that we don't get taught. All the facts that are in there that Queenie sort of hears or sort of jokes about or talks about, they're all true facts.
Yep.
And I remember in my research, I remember asking doctors or talking about what the differences were for Black women when it came to fertility. And everyone was like, oh no, there's no difference. There's nothing at all. Like when it comes to fertility, IVF, like, you know, like conceiving, it's all the same thing. And when I did actual data research, Black women are the least successful when it comes to IVF because we leave it too late, because we're basically always told that we're super fertile and hyper fertile. And I guess I would hate for someone who wants to have kids and that's their thing. And, you know, I know people who are like, that's my destiny, it's my dream, to maybe not be able to do that because they just didn't know something. So I would say, I would like you to read it because it's enjoyable and it's funny and it's like naughty and it's all those things. But it's also going to tell you a lot about your body that you maybe don't know because you were never going to get told this stuff.
100%.
Yeah.
And are you ready for, I guess, what comes with that, the weight of that conversation? Because that is it's a heavy conversation in our community that isn't, I guess, publicly been spoken about a lot. But as we know, like our ages, Queenie's younger than us. But when people hit our ages, that is a private battle that a lot of people face.
Yeah.
That isn't, if you wrote a book about that, less people would want to confront it. But because it's within this story, it's hopefully going to illuminate it to more people.
I hope so. And that's why I kind of wanted to couch it in something that was, because, you know, I could have just written a blog post. I could have been like, hey guys, who are in your 30s, do you want to have kids? Read this. But I wanted to be like, no, let's put it in something so we can learn together and we can, like, you know, approach it with it's gentle, because actually this stuff is very confronting and it's very frightening.
Yeah.
And I never want to scare anyone or traumatize anyone or make anyone think they're running out of time, because they're not. But I just wanted to give enough information to be like, just go and figure things out, you know? So it's all in there. Because, yeah, some people don't want to have kids, and that's fine. But if you do, then you know. I just want you to know. I just want everyone to know. You know?
I understand. Thank you. Thank you so much for doing this.
Thank you for having me. Had a great time.